Hello, my name is Amber, and some of you may know me already. I am doing this small series particularly for patients of Kingston Integrated Healthcare. However, these apply to anyone that is looking to work towards better health and wellness. And so we're going to do a series of shorts that will just be small tips and tidbits of how to use yoga in order to be able to work towards health and wellness. And sometimes you don't feel like doing a full class, but there's a lot of benefit to yoga, and just by doing some small practices we can help work our way towards health and wellness. So this particular series, we're going to be working with lymph and helping to circulate through our lymph and lymph nodes and working through that in the body. So this little snapshot, we're going to be looking at yoga postures that are called inversions. And so inversions can be a couple of things. So an inversion can be where the head sits below the heart. It can be where the hips sit above the heart, the feet and hips, of course. It can be where the hands sit above the heart. And so we know that the heart and lungs are our main pumps for our circulation of our blood. And so what we're trying to achieve with inversions is what we call viparita karani, or active reversal. So changing the flow and direction of those natural blood and things like that in lymph, and to help circulate, to help create circulation in the body. So these inversions that I talk about, there's a couple that you can do, and you can just do them in your own time. You can fit them in as part of your day. And they're very simple, they're very easy and accessible for the most part. And they really do help a lot with our health and wellness. So inversions, there's two big ones in yoga, which you've seen often, which are headstands and shoulder stands. And they sometimes call them king and queen of asana, of the posture practices. And that's because they are said to be fountain of youth poses. They're the poses that help keep us young because of that active reversal. Now, not everyone has the physical ability to be able to do headstand and shoulder stand. So I'm going to show you today is a couple of poses that we can still get the benefits of those inversions without having to do the full expression of the pose. So the first inversion that I would like to show you today is called Uttanasana, or forward fold. And we do this a lot in yoga, actually, and it's a transition pose a lot, but it's absolutely wonderful, and it's wonderful just to even break up your day. Sometimes if you come to the clinic, you will see me just doing it just to, again, help that active reversal of flow in my body, help circulation, help extra blood in my brain, help wake myself up. All of these things, but again, a lot of our lymph in our collars, in our armpits, all of this, by that active reversal of the head sitting below the heart and below the hips, helps with extra circulation, and it helps to enliven these places. So we'll start with our feet about hip width apart, and allow your feet to be softened to the floor. Allow the knees to be soft, allow the hips to really feel stacked and stable. This is the grounding piece of these postures. And from here, what we'll do is you can bring the hands down to the hips, and we're going to bend the knees, setting the hips back, and at the same time, let your torso fold forward so that it can come down, and if you have the mobility, let your belly rest on top of the thighs. And now from here, if we have blocks or props or a chair or anything you want to use, you can bring your hands down. If you have the mobility to reach your hands down to the floor, you can do that. And then very gently, we're going to begin to lift the hips up to let the head gently hang. And you can see already that my face is probably turning like a little red tomato, and that means it's working. So to just gently, again, keeping the knees soft and bouncy, keeping that weight in the legs so we are well grounded,
And then just to let yourself hang. Sometimes people like to sway side to side. Some people like to give the head a little shake to help open up in the back of the neck. If we feel like that 10-pound bowling ball helps press us down into the ground a little bit. So this really helps open up a lot of things. And in order to get the benefits of this active reversal, we almost have to stay in the pose a little bit. So we can definitely do this and hang out here and just breathe. And you can stay there as long as you like. But then when you are ready to come out, arguably the dismount is as important as going in. So we want to first tuck our chin in towards the chest, bring your hands to your thighs, bend your knees again, and let your spine roll up. Pressing into the thighs, use your hands, use the strength of your arm to gently come up, letting the head come up very last, and only when there's no more dizziness. And we're all the way back up. Now, if having out in the open is too much, there is lots of options. So we can also do it with ourselves against the wall. Again, the wall behind us just adds that extra piece of stability. So we can fold forward and hang this way. And then, again, if that's too much, if there's too much dizziness, too much headiness, we can also get a chair involved. And so, by sitting in a chair, it again just offers more stability to our base. We can bring the legs nice and wide, and we can let ourselves hang forward in between the legs. Now, this is where your head might not be sitting as below your heart, and your hips might not be stacked too much above your heart, but the idea is that even a little bit helps. So just remember that everything in yoga is just based upon you and about your body and about what you can do. It's not a competition, definitely not. I'm in the wrong business if that's the case. All right, so that is one pose that we can do. Now the next pose that we can offer is one that actually feels comfortable for a lot of people or feels uncomfortable for a lot of people, just depending on who you are. And so it's a kneeling version of essentially the fetal position. And so if you're going to do this, it might feel nice if you have a yoga mat at home, you can do that. Feels nice sometimes if you're doing it on a hardwood floor to have a blanket underneath your hands and knees, just again to add a little bit of softness. And we can start in a kneeling position with our hands and knees on the floor, and then gently just let your hips move back towards your heels. Now, some people don't have that ability of movement, and you can still keep your hips exactly where they are, entirely up to you. So, but what's more important is that we're going to lower the torso. So we're going to bring the heart, again, below the hips, bringing the head below the heart. So there's this position, or if we set the hips back towards the heels, there's this position. And again, both are wonderful ways, just very small inversions, but they're also very comforting for a lot of people. They're that safety position for a lot of people, and it feels great in the body. It's also a lot more stable than our standing forward fold. So that's sort of option 2. The other option that I'm going to show you today is we have a couple actually, and so it's from a reclined position. Now I personally like to do this one in bed because it's super comfortable in bed, but we can lie down, and if we have a scarf or a strap nearby, we can have that nearby, and a pillow. So first we can lie down, and you want to try and draw your shoulder blades together underneath you to, again, sort of make that nice base, that nice stable base of where we're going. And then you bend your knees, putting the soles of the feet into the ground so that we can press in, and we're going to lift the hips. And this is where we're going to take that pillow and we're going to tuck it underneath our seat. And we want to make sure that where the pillow lands is behind that sweet little triangle that's part of our sacrum and closer to the tailbone, and not underneath your low back. My friend Mona, who some of you know, often says that if you have it under your low back, or if you don't have it in the right spot, where we go next, that little pillow will act like a Pez dispenser and it'll shoot out. So you'll quickly know if you don't have it in the right spot. And then the next piece that we'll have nearby is that strap or scarf for where we're going next. So we can tuck the knees in towards the chest and then gently raise the feet up towards the ceiling. And then from here, you will see that my hips are above my heart and my heart is above my head. Now, if this again gets to be too much, we can take that strap or the scarf or whatever we have and just add a little bit of support by looping it across the feet and just hanging on and adding that little bit of contraction. So yeah, pretty easy. And again, this one's pretty easy to hold. Like I said, sometimes I like to do this one in bed. This is just a favorite. The knees don't have to be bone straight. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways, but they can just be they can be bent slightly so that you have some reprieve in the back line of your body. And yeah, and we can hang out here as long as we want. Again, the longer that we can hold these poses, the more circulation happens, the more benefit that we get. So then, same as the dismount from the other, we want to be cautious and careful. So draw your knees in towards your chest. If you have the feet strapped, let them release. And then 1 foot at a time, gently bring the feet down so that you can lift up your hips, slide at the pillow, and then it's really important to just let your hips settle before you get up and move around. Because again, just like standing up too quickly, we've reversed the flow of blood and everything from a lying down position. So if we stand up quickly, that's going to cause a lot of lightheadedness and dizziness. Now, this position can also be done if we want more stability. We can also do it against a wall. So all you really need is a clean flat wall in your place, and we want to bring one of the hips up next to the wall. Again, if you want your pillow nearby, by all means. And we can either use a yoga mat or a blanket. Doesn't matter, it's up to you. So how far your hips are out from the wall is going to decide the intensity of the stretch on the back of your legs. So if you have tightness in the back of your legs, it might be nice to have your hip not exactly against the wall. And then from here, just very gentle, we can walk the feet up the wall while spinning a little bit and allow yourself to land. And then again, from here, just with the feet lifted, we can either leave it here, or we can press the feet into the wall to lift the hips slightly and gently tuck that pillow underneath the sacrum. And again, we get that little bit more of a reversal. And then let yourself rest. And this feels lovely. People can easily spend 10, 15, 20 minutes in a pose like this. And there'll come a point where you'll feel like that pins and needles sensation in the feet. Don't worry about it. That means it's working. And of course, unless you have some type of, something that your doctor feels like you should be concerned about and you shouldn't do these poses, always double check with your doctor prior to doing any type of physical activity practice, specifically yoga as well in this case. And but the pins and needles will definitely go away once we're flipped back upright. We know that. Sometimes the mind gets panicky and is like, oh my goodness, I need to get out of this now, but really it just means that that active reversal is working, and if you can hang on just a couple minutes, then it'll be worth it. And then to come out, again, walking the feet down, first remove that pillow from underneath you, let your sacrum come down to the ground, feel that stability, and then gently roll over. And then when you're nice and ready, you can roll all the way back up to seated. And those are just a couple poses, and like I said, we'll be working through this series. I'll offer you lots of options, and the beautiful part about yoga is that there is lots of options. So if one thing doesn't work for you, there's a good chance that something else will, and that's the beauty. All right, thank you for joining me.